Hi everybody, Bert Zimmerman here, this time from Bangkok, but it's not really relevant because it's not the topic of the video. This is the first video of a series that I want to make about racetrack and holding procedures. Many people out there seem to struggle a little bit with what is the purpose of a racetrack, what is the purpose of a holding, what's the difference, and how do you construct the protection areas. So let's address this. It's gonna be a series of videos. I cannot do it in just one because it's gonna be like 2 hours long, which nobody wants to watch. So let's do a series of short ones, and I hope I can bring you from zero to hero. A holding is a waiting room in the sky. When an aircraft uses it, it is actually expected that it will stay there for a while and make multiple turns. The holding point can be defined by ground-based nav aids such as VORs or NDBs, or it could be formed by intersections of two radials or bearings. It could also be formed by a localizer and a marker beacon, or a localizer with a DME distance. Also, we could use a VOR DME fix, or of course, more modern, an area navigation waypoint. After passing the holding fix, the aircraft turns outbound, flying the outbound turn. As soon as the outbound turn is completed after 180 degrees, it flies the outbound leg. The leg can be timed. In a holding, this would be 1 minute up to and including 14,000 feet of altitude, and above 14,000 feet, a standard holding would be 1.5 minutes. Alternatively, the outbound leg length could be limited by a DME distance, or alternatively, a limiting radial. At the end of the outbound leg, the aircraft will fly the inbound turn to intercept the inbound leg again. On the inbound leg, it's a must to have track guidance. A racetrack is one of the known reversal procedures, and it's used when a direct turn to the next procedure axis is impossible because the angle is too large. In such a case, you could obviously select either of the three reversal procedures: base turn, procedure turn, or racetrack, but in certain situations, only a racetrack is going to work. Such a situation you have on the screen now. The aircraft, when flying from the initial approach fix to the intermediate fix, will not be able to turn left onto the procedure axis aligned with the runway, so it will have to reverse the long way round to the new axis. However, a base turn or a procedure turn would not be possible in this case, because the entry angle into one of those two procedures is also exceeded. So in such case, only a racetrack would work. The racetrack is the most flexible reversal procedure. This is because we can make use of the entry procedures in the racetrack, which are the same that we also use to enter a holding. The entry procedures are based on sectors that are formed by the inbound leg and a line that forms an angle of 70 degrees to it. On the top left, the amber area is called the sector 1. On the bottom left, the green area is called sector 2. And on the right, the blue area is called sector 3. From sector 1, we fly a parallel outbound entry, meaning the airplane flies to the holding fix, then turns outbound reciprocal to the inbound leg for the same amount of time or distance outbound, and then turns left to intercept the inbound leg and join the pattern. From sector 2, a offset entry, also known as teardrop entry, is flown. The aircraft flies to the fix, then makes a track which is 30 degrees off the reciprocal of the inbound leg, flies outbound for the same amount of time or the same amount of distance as defined, and then turns right to intercept the inbound leg. From sector 3, a direct entry is flown, which simply means the aircraft proceeds to the fix, turns outbound, and joins the pattern. Racetracks have different timings than holdings. I mentioned the holding timings at the beginning. Racetracks are timed 1 to 3 minutes in half-minute increments, immaterial of the altitude at which they are designed. There is the possibility to limit the length of the outbound leg by a DME distance. This would reduce the ambiguity a little bit, and also it would reduce the influence of the wind at the end of the outbound leg and during the inbound turn. The same can be done with a radial. From a suitably located DME, one could publish a radial that defines the end of the outbound leg of the holding pattern. Good, let's recap that because it's important. A holding is a waiting room in the air, so if somebody uses a holding procedure, you would expect that the airplane makes multiple turns in that pattern, and that's why different speeds and different protections are used. A racetrack is different. A racetrack is really just there to reverse in the initial approach, when a direct turn to the new procedure axis is not allowed or not possible. You could of course opt to use other reversal procedures such as base or procedure turns, but there are cases, like I illustrated on the slide before, where the only choice can be a racetrack because you cannot enter the base turn or the procedure turn because you're not within the allowed sector, and then a racetrack needs to be made. And the racetrack does not mean you make multiple turns. A racetrack really just means you use the entry procedures to reverse your track and continue on the new axis. If you decide to stay in the racetrack because you want to kill more altitude, this becomes a holding. Alright folks, I think that's enough for today. Today there's also Loy Krathong, the Festival of Lights, a very important festival here in Thailand. So I want to take you out to the nearby park to have a look what's going on. Loy Krathong, Festival of Lights, as I said, is a festival where the Thais create krathongs. It's a work of art made of banana trunks, banana leaves and nice flowers with a candle on it. And they will float it somewhere when there's water. It can be on a river, on a lake, or even on the sea. And it gives a really, really nice atmosphere. By floating the krathongs, the Thais believe to say goodbye to misfortune and to the sins of the last year. So it's a good thought. So let's go and have a look and celebrate with them. And see you next time. Bye bye.